I've come back and if you can see here, I've drawn the pattern on here. Now, as it turns out, because we've changed the levels and done this dishing out and everything, that we've changed the contours, so your pattern, I cut the pattern out like I said I was going to, and then I found out when I put it on here that it does not fit. So what you'll end up having to do, and I just did this, is just you can see where the leaves go, and lay your pattern here, and go ahead and take you a pencil like I did, and you're going to have to kind of draw these leaves in here, because they're not going to fit like this pattern shows, because we've changed this here. So you can just draw these leaves in. You'll notice I put another little, that's where this leaf comes out, and you don't see the end of it because it's hidden behind that leaf. You'll have a little area right there that you'll have to basically dig a hole out and make it deeper, kind of like I did right here. You can see how I did that right there, and over here I'll have to dig those holes out. And basically the way I dug those out is I just used that little 1/8 number 7 tool, and because that's what fits the inside curve of those leaves, and I just dug that out a little bit deeper, and I'll probably come back and work on it a little more later. And you'll have to do the same thing up here. Now, of course, I have to come back and put stop cuts on all these leaves, and then start lowering the pieces. As you can see, this leaf's going to kind of be high, and that leaf's going to be a little bit lower. This area right in here will be a little bit lower, and of course these areas right here that I outlined will be lower. And I also, you might notice I drew in the bottom of his lip. You know, this is up here's where I cut in a while ago, and then I just came down and drew that in. And what I'll do with that is I'll reach over here and get a very small U-gouge. Yeah, there we go. I don't know if you can see. Well, anyway, that's a U-gouge or a veiner, or number 11 if you want to call it that. And I'm going to come right below there, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make this lip stand out and then shape it a little bit here in a minute. Decided to go ahead and put the lip on him. You have to be very careful when you do this. And I'm also leaning, instead of cutting it perpendicular, I'm leaning it away from the lip so that I don't cut that lip out. I'm just going to take it down a little bit deeper here. Let me look at it now. Let's see. No, he's not standing out quite enough. I'll work on it just a little bit more. Of course, that'll also make this leaf back in here deeper, and we'll work on that in a minute and fix that. And just take it and run it right on around there. Make it just stand out about, oh, not quite 1/8 of an inch. Alright, now I don't know, you really can't see that very well, I'm sure, but let's see. Okay, you can see it right there. Better? And so I made that lip stand out proud, and then I'll take that 1/8 and I'll turn it over upside down, and I'll just round off that sharp edge on that lip, just like so. Do the same thing here. Come from the center to the outside. Kind of clean that up. And later on, when I'm detailing that out, that lip will show very good. Now, let's see if I can get where you can see this. Now, if you see right here, you've got a sharp line where I dish that out. Well, you're going to have to take your knife or take your skewer, whatever you got, and just kind of ease that off so that that's a smooth transition from that area into the end of the leaf. Let me just kind of very carefully take my knife, and I'm just taking a little sliver so I can get rid of that line right there. I got to tell you something. When I get this set up where you can see it, this light like it is, and I know it's not the greatest, it makes it very hard for me to see to carve. So I'm not carving in the best light. That'll work. And of course I'm going to have to come back here and put my little lines back in that I took out right there. And I'm going to go ahead and cut all these lines and start lowering the areas that are lower. We'll show you here in a minute. I'm going to cut that right there. You need a good sharp, and I use a detail knife. You can use whatever knife you have. And now what I'm doing is right now is I'm just kind of cutting the straighter lines, and then I'm going to come back with that little 1/8 number 7 and cut these inside corners where that number 7 will fit, like so. And here again, these little areas on the inside of the leaves where you got a corner, this little number 7 I got will fit pretty well. And just go ahead and push that in. And out here on the ends of these leaves, you'll notice, I'll kind of rotate that around. You see that? Yeah. Okay. Kind of come from both sides of it there. And cut that in. And see, once I do that, and make sure those cuts are connected, I can almost come in there and pop that chip out. I'll have to work on it a little bit. And this is going to have to be pretty deep, because this leaf right here is going to be lower than this leaf, and then this little hole is going to have to be lower than both of them. So you just have to kind of work on those little areas. They take a little time. When you're doing these leaves, you need to be patient, because this is some exacting work, and it just takes a little time, and you have to use whatever tools you got and figure out how to get them out of there. Okay, see, that's not bad. I'll get the other one here in a minute. Now I'm going to go ahead and lower this leaf, because it'll be behind these two leaves here. And just going to, now you notice I'm not taking off any big amount of wood. I'm just doing a little slice with that knife very carefully. Come up here and do that. You got to be careful, because if you got a good sharp tool and you're not careful, when you get up here, you'll end up cutting. Instead of coming under this leaf, you'll cut that leaf too, and you do not want to do that. I did that right in this area here and screwed that up, but it'll work. Okay. Turn it this way. Y'all can see it better if I do. Okay. I just want to lower this whole leaf here a little bit, until you've got about, like I've talked about before. And here again, if you got a skew, it's so much easier to do that. You got better control than you have with a knife, and you're not as likely to push it too far and mess up that the leaf above. Notice I'm doing a slice and cut. In other words, I'm not pushing straight in. I'm doing like that, because I want a nice controlled cut. I don't want to slip and mess up that other leaf. Okay, so I'm just going to work this down. And once we get this done, once you get all your leaves at the proper levels, then we'll start in on which really the details. We're going to scoop these leaves out, so to speak, and going to be using a couple different ones actually, but small veiners, U-gouges. I see in areas here where I didn't cut deep enough, I'll have to come back, recut my stop cut just a little bit deeper, so that I can get in there. And then right in here, I'm going to have to push that in just a little deeper. And then here again, you just have to kind of use what you've got to work yourself into these tight areas. You got to be very careful. You want to just slice back to the stop cut. Don't go any deeper or any further than the stop cut. And if you do it right, you end up with pretty clean carving. As y'all might know, I am a stickler about clean carvings and the way you get them. You've heard me say before, if you watched any of my videos, is you make a good clean stop cut, and you make a clean slice or cut back to it. And when you do that, then you don't have all those little fuzzies and things. And I understand, realize it takes a while to get where you can do that, but you need to concentrate and work on that. And then you won't have to worry about all this sanding and messing around to get your carving to be clean. Let's see, I lost my line right there. Let me put it back in there. Now see, there's still that area right in here and right in here that's got to go deeper than what we end up putting this leaf at. I've got to go a little deeper out here yet. I'll just take a slice out of there just to keep everything one continuous flow there. I'm doing that very carefully, I think.